I'm Marcie Shaoul. I'm the founder of the Co-Parent Way, and we are the UK's only co-parent coaching practice. So I'm a trained and certified coach. I sit on Resolutions Parenting After Parting Committee, and I'm a co-parent myself. So I founded the Co-Parent Way based on about 15 years of research and lived experience. And I've molded all of that into a methodology, which I'll talk to you about shortly. But yeah, that's me. Because Aruna suggested it, I thought I might just talk a little bit about my story to start with, and then talk to you about co-parenting, why it's important, why it's difficult, because it is difficult, and some tips when it is difficult, some tips that you can kind of bring in to help you out whilst you're on your co-parenting journey. So I really, really believe that when we separate and when we have children, they have a need for us to parent them responsibly, even when we've had really tricky breakups, right? Because kids are fragile in many ways at that age, at different ages when you're divorcing as parents, and so I believe that kids, when it's safe to do so, have a right to positive access to both of their parents, right? And that is not all the time, and that is not for every family, but it is for many families. Okay, there's like something mad, like 280,000 kids a year are impacted by divorce, and the effect that kind of ripples through society as a result of that is massive, right? It's absolutely massive. And when that divorce is high conflict, or when the parents aren't able to kind of parent together, the effect on those children is pretty negative, actually. And there's been loads of research that's been done into that. And this is not me being here tonight to kind of scare the living daylights out of you. It's like, actually, here are some steps that we can take to make it better. We just need to make it good enough, right? We don't all need to be going on holiday together. We don't all need to be doing any of that kind of stuff, but we do need to make it good enough so the kids feel nice and safe. And the Co-Parent Way is built on two pillars, if you like. The first is self-management. So we need to be able to self-manage. And the second is communication, because it takes both of those things to be a successful co-parent. So what is co-parenting? Well, at the risk of kind of, telling you things you already know, I just need to tell you actually that there's no single legal definition yet of co-parenting. Most of the definitions have similarities, and the definition we use at the Co-Parent Way is this, and this just might give you a bit of context actually for the work. So co-parenting means that both parents put their children front and center and communicate effectively about them. It means that children can grow up secure in the knowledge that their parents will work together even though they're no longer in a relationship. And co-parenting is important, right? Because it goes without saying that we want to minimize damage to children following the breakdown of our adult relationship. So the psychological and emotional impact on children who experience divorce and parental separation, we know that, right? We've just talked about it a little bit. But we also know that early intervention to stop conflict between parents is highly effective, actually, at protecting the well-being of kids. So that's what co-parenting does. It encourages parents to put the needs of their kids front and center. It urges parents to manage their emotions, improve their communications, and avoid this high conflict path that so many people find themselves kind of wandering down. When children have co-parents who can communicate respectfully with each other, kids feel safer, they feel more secure, and that means that they can grow up emotionally resilient in a supportive space. And that also means that parents can take better decisions about their children because there's a channel of communication, if you like, that's happening. So when we decide to have children, I'm going to say something slightly controversial. I was going to say, I'm saying it's a responsibility, right, that stays with us for the rest of our lives, right? Because we choose not to be in a relationship with someone anymore, we don't choose not to be a parent anymore, right? So we have to kind of figure out how to reform our parenting system with someone that we might not like anymore, we might not trust, we might not feel safe around them, they might make us angry, any number of things, right? So we have to figure out how on earth we're going to kind of reformat that relationship. Add into this the kind of the emotions that we're feeling, add into this that there may have been a breakdown of trust. It means that when we're separating, we just might not want to be near that person. We might not want to be anywhere near them, let alone talking to them about the kids, let alone having a conversation with them, let alone receiving a really long email from them about something or other, okay? So that means that separation really quickly can actually enter into high conflict, and parents start to scramble for whatever means that they can find to win over their ex. You know, you've heard of this kind of, or you will have seen in the papers some of the very high conflict separations where kids basically get battled over, okay? And just pause and reflect for a moment on what that's like for those children, okay? So at the Co-Parent Way, we work with parents at all stages of their separation, actually, and beyond. And there's something that we categorically do know. We know that when emotions are running high, it's really hard for parents to remain fully focused on their children. The kids can sometimes get lost amid the stresses, maybe, or the practicalities of separation. And as a result, actually, kids can be left feeling confused. They can be left feeling unsafe, unstable. So none of those are ideal things that we want for our children, right? Just need a bit of a drink. So effective co-parenting then really means that we can put aside consciously, if you like, our negative feelings towards our ex, okay? We can refocus our attention on the kids, and we can take decisions that benefit our kids. Not liking or trusting your ex makes it a lot harder to do those things. So I want to help try to maybe weave some things throughout this today that can help you a little bit. And one of those things I want to do is now, I want you to just remember, actually, if you are here tonight and or you're listening later, and you are in a high conflict situation where it is difficult to co-parent, I want you to do this. I want you to take a second and remember some of those first moments from when your children were born. And I want you to remind yourself of those feelings that you had when you first held your child, okay? So the fierce love that comes, the responsibility, that overwhelming sense of responsibility that comes when you hold a newborn. They kind of just developed in you immediately, okay? And over time, we may get used to those feelings, but the responsibility of being a parent never goes away. And when we're not in a relationship with someone anymore, it doesn't mean that we stop being a parent with them. So the first thing that anybody who's embarking on a co-parenting journey needs to do is to realize that although the family system has changed shape, it's still got two parents in it. And co-parenting is, if we can get to that point, the best way to protect our kids' mental and emotional health after we've had a breakup or a separation or a divorce. Because keeping them front and center during our decision-making really helps them to develop into resilient children, and then, and this is quite important, resilient adults. And it means that becoming a co-parent and learning how to manage all those powerful emotions that we feel towards our ex, that's something we need to do for the sake of the kids, right? So think of it like this. You're walking along the pavement with your child, and suddenly, I mean, depending on how old they are, their ball bounces into the road, or they drop their iPhone into the gutter. I have one of each of those ages. There's a bus coming, and they're running out after their iPhone or their ball without thinking. What do, right? You instinctively, and I'm saying this for everyone because I'm sure it's true, you instinctively run out into the road to grab them, to protect them, right? You would automatically do everything you could to save their life. You would even put your own physical safety at risk to do so. And the reason I say that kind of little analogy is because it's no different with our kids' mental health, right? We need to do everything we can to protect their emotional well-being. If we don't try to co-parent, or if we think that destroying our child's relationship with their other parent means that we win, think again, because if we're doing that, then we're putting our child's mental and emotional health directly in front of that bus. Okay. So it's difficult though, isn't it? Right. You know, I've been there. I know many people watching, listening will have been there. How do we do it when we don't like the person that we're supposed to be co-parenting with? Or how do we do it when actually they're making it really difficult? Okay, so I thought I'd just give you 5 tips. Well, 4 tips. 4 tips and one blatant sale about my course, but it's still a tip. So the first one is this: accept that your ex is still a parent. Accept it, just accept it. You can't change it, whether you want to change it or not, whatever you might think about you want to happen to that person. You're both still the parents of your children. Okay, so you can't change this, and so you have a choice. You can either spend the next decade in conflict with someone, doesn't sound much fun, or you can accept that this has been an unpleasant period and show up to parenting with them, whatever you're feeling about them. Okay. The second one is take responsibility for your part in the co-parenting. So you can't change your ex. You may want to change them. You can't change them. You can't change their thoughts. You can't change their behaviors. You can only modify your own to better serve the situation that you're in. And I don't mean for a minute here, be a doormat or say yes or make their life completely easy. I just mean be respectful, be polite, demonstrate, role model to your children the best way to show up to co-parenting so your kids will grow up in a safe and stable environment. The third one is be respectful on the outside, whatever you feel on the inside. Okay, similar to the point previously, but if you can manage to remain respectful and have conversations with your ex about your children and take decisions about the children together, then your kids will feel safe and stable. All they need to see is that both their parents are doing this without hating each other, that both their parents can still be parents together, can still be in the room together, can still have a civil conversation together and communicate about them. Okay, that's what they need. Their kids need, it's all about them, right? That's what they need to know, that it can still happen. The fourth one is, and actually I am going to give you 5 before I tell you about the course, because I think there's another one that's just come to mind. So the fourth one is this: imagine a Venn diagram, right? 3 circles, 2 big circles and 1 small circle in the middle. Okay, so there are 3 worlds here. One is your world, one is your co-parents' world, and I've got a diagram. I'll just dig it out in a minute, sorry. And there's a kind of co-parenting world in the middle. And all you need to do is to step out of your world into the co-parenting world when you're meeting with your ex, okay? And you don't need to let them in to your world, and you don't get to go in to their world, right? So it's this kind of idea of a Venn diagram, if you like. Do you know what? I've got it here. So if it works, I'm just going to quickly. Oh no, I don't have screen sharing. Maybe Arena and Mo, that we could share that. I could share that with everybody here. Here we go.
I've just given you.
Oh great. Okay, let's see. Can everybody see that? Arena, can you see that?
I can see
great.
that.
Okay, so this is the idea of the 3 worlds, co-parenting world, right? So this is one person, one parent's world. This is the other parent's world, and this little tiny bit in the middle is the only place you need to come together to communicate about your children. The rest of your life happens in your world, and there are boundaries around that co-parenting world, to stop your ex coming into your world and to stop you going into their world. And that's really important, because when you can visualize that, and take a picture of it if you want, I mean, it's part of the course, just take a picture, have it, because if you can visualize it, it just means that actually you can self-manage enough, and that self-management can really help when you're communicating with someone that you don't massively like anymore. Okay. Stop share. Have you got me back?
Yep.
Never know with tech. Sorry, guys. Okay. The next one is self-manage your emotions. Okay. So in order to be respectful on the outside and do all of those things we've talked about before, you need to be able to self-manage your emotions. Okay. Moments in front of the children are not the time to be wearing your heart on your sleeve, whatever you are feeling, whatever is being said to you. If you can self-manage, and if you can be respectful and aloof, business-like, transactional, they're all fine. Rude is not fine. Your kids don't need to see that, right? But when you are feeling strong emotions, and you will, do it when the kids aren't there. Shout, scream with friends and family, get some external support. If you can manage to self-manage, that's a mouthful, isn't it? If you can manage to self-manage in those difficult moments, then you're really stepping up for the children. And I mentioned external support, right? So there are loads of people out there. There are therapists, coaches. There's lots of kind of online resources. Go onto the Co-Parent Way website, where I've got lots of blogs and tips, all for free. Go and have a look. And if you do need more practical help to achieve anything that we've talked about today, you can go and do the Co-Parent Way Essentials course. And I'm going to give you a discount code, because it's £249 for the whole thing, but you can have a welcome 10 is the discount code, and I'll give it to Aruna, and maybe she can send that around to everybody. But basically all you need is practical tools to be able to get you from A to B. And sometimes when you're feeling completely lost and completely at sea, just one or two practical tools can make all the difference. Whether you get them from the course or from a mate that you talk to down in the coffee shop, it doesn't matter. But practical tools are helpful, because self-managing and communication means that you will be able to co-parent in a good enough way. So I hope that's been helpful.